In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create LinkedIn sponsored content ads step by step, a complete walkthrough for everything you need to do to get your campaign up and running. And because this is quite an in-depth guide, it covers a load of different things. I've added navigation for you. So if you look in the description below, or if you look at the playhead at the bottom of this video, there are chapters. So if you want to skip to specific information, or if you're going through the video and think, I already know how to do this, feel free just to skip. The navigation should help you get to where you need to be. Additionally, before we get started, my company Tech Growth Marketing, we run LinkedIn ads for companies. We are currently giving away free marketing strategy audits, so we can do everything for you. All you need to do to apply for that call is click the link in the description below.
Hello, so in this video I'm going to talk you through step by step everything you need to do to upload a campaign into LinkedIn. Not only am I going to do that, but I'm also going to tell you some things which are going to improve the performance of your campaigns within LinkedIn. So you're going to get some extra information which is going to help your LinkedIn ads perform even better. So first off, before we even start within Campaign Manager over here, what we want to do is we want to prep our campaign before it goes live. So what we've done here, we're using as an example a campaign we've already got live. We've created the ads in Canva. Canva's a really useful tool to create the ads. And we have actually written out everything we require for the campaign within, this is called Whimsical. This is what we use to map out what needs to go in our campaign. So we've written out all the copy we have, the destination URLs, headlines, everything like that. So everything's prepped and ready before we actually go into the campaign and upload it. I'd recommend doing this. You don't have to use Whimsical. You can use Excel or something like that. This is a really good way of making everything way more structured and making sure your campaigns contain no errors or anything like that. Because if you tend to go straight into Campaign Manager and build it within there, it's not the best environment to build things in. It's better to have a high level view as well as a visual view of what's going on in terms of campaigns. So now we're going to jump into the Campaign Manager and see what we're going to do. So I've put all the information I need to go into this campaign in another window to the side. I'm using an ultra wide monitor, so it makes things really easy. I can see everything I need to do. So within the LinkedIn ads account, we have several different layers to the account. We first off have accounts, which is whereby you see all the different ad accounts associated to you. So because we manage ad accounts for other companies, we have access to their accounts, so you can see all the accounts you have there. Once you go into a specific account, it breaks down into campaign groups, campaigns, and ads. Campaign groups are like folders. They don't really do much. They're just ways of collecting campaigns together for the sake of organization. Campaigns are where you start defining certain criteria, such as who your audiences are, how much you want to spend on ads, how long the ads should be running, what the objectives of the ads is. And then ads are whereby you're uploading the ads, and we're going to go through all of this together now. So first things first, we start out with our campaign groups. So over on my other window, I've decided we're going to name this campaign because it's going after SaaS business managers. So we're going to create. Here we're going to click the drop down create and we're going to press campaign group. We're going to name it. Now with naming, we've come up with a few different naming strategies. We go with A if it's early funnel lead generation, B if it's nurturing people who are already aware of us, and C if we're going for something like a demo, free trial, basically kind of like a sales call. Then in terms of naming, we also put who's running the campaign, so TGM with Tech Growth Marketing. We then put who our target audience is and we put what the objective is of that campaign. So all we need to do here, this is all okay. If you wanted to set specific start and end dates, you can, but we tend to just do run continuously from a start date. Then we press create, and that creates our campaign group. So our campaign group has now arrived here. Now what I'd normally do is I'd press through into the campaign group and then press create, and this is where we start creating our campaign. So we press campaign, and because we pressed through into the campaign group, it's already associated that campaign with that campaign group. So it's got our folder, and then underneath it, it's put the campaign into that specific campaign group. You can use a different group. So for example, if you had just stayed at campaign group level and had nothing selected and you pressed create campaign, it will put it under the default campaign group, and in that instance you might want to use a different group, and you would just select which one it is you want to use. Again, campaign groups are just for organization. Next up, we want to name our campaign. So what we do is we use a numbering system. So we'd number campaign groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then within each campaign group we might have multiple campaigns. So it'd be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and we group them together in terms of what they were aiming to do. So if we had a specific audience, such as SaaS business owners, and we had the objective of lead generation, we put all of those into one campaign group. Within here, we've also determined a few extra things, what we're doing with it, who we're targeting, etc., etc., just so we can, from a high-level view, see what's going on with the campaign. And I'd advise using a similar kind of naming structure just to keep things simple. Next up, because it's associated, we just press Next. So now we need to determine what our objective is. You have multiple objectives within here. I would say the only ones you should really be going after 90% of the time, if not 95% of the time, are website visits and lead generation. In this instance, we're going for lead generation. We're giving away a white paper guide, and we want to generate leads for the giving away that guide. If you were doing something like sign-ups or free trials, you could try a website visit campaign. We just send people to a website. But in this instance, we're going with lead generation. Lead generation is mildly more complicated. So with website visits, I'll walk you through that later as well, but it's just a tiny bit simpler. For the most part, it's the same though. It only changes when you get to the ad level. So we're going to select lead generation for now. And next up, we need to create our audience. So in this instance, we should have defined our audience before coming here, and we have. But for this instance, we're going to use just the United Kingdom, and then we're going to start refining our audience. So we want to get our audience on the right here. You can see forecasted results, target audience size. We want to get this to roughly like 80,000, 100,000, something like that's the sweet spot. In some instances, campaigns can work in tiny audience sizes. We've seen it work for audience sizes of like 2,000 to 5,000. Very, very specific. The only problem you have with audience sizes is that small is your campaign won't tend to last very long because your audience will be burnt out. But audience sizes that are massive aren't specific enough, so your ads don't tend to land. So you really want to niche target this down. So what we do is we start coming down here and adding in criteria. So as we're going for marketing managers and business owners of SaaS companies, we're going to target this cold. We're going to go for company category. Actually, we don't want country category, we want company industries. And let's see, we want software and IT services, and let's go for computer software. Let's also go with internet. Actually, we'll just go with company software for now. Now, we've got one criteria. That's immediately taken our target audience size down to about 500,000, but we want to make it even more specific. So we go on to narrow because we want specific job titles. So we go into audience attributes. We go to job experience. In this instance, let's target based on job titles because it can be really specific. So we go for founder, co-founder, and we also want some marketing managers in there as well. So we'll type in marketing, and it allows us to select multiple roles. So we're going to go for more senior roles within here. Now this is one way of targeting, whereby you target based on job titles. There is an alternative method whereby we can target based on job function and job seniority. And to do that, we would go to job experience, job functions, and in this instance we'll go marketing and operations. And that will put anyone into our target audience who is in the United Kingdom, works with computer software, and works in marketing and operations. The issue being that could be an intern, it could be the owner of the company. So we want to be a bit more specific. So we go down to audience attributes, job experience, job seniorities, and then we want to make sure we're selecting high-level roles because that's who our target audience is. Now you might be targeting unpaid, you might be targeting interns, trainees, senior people. Obviously do this specific to exactly what you're after. But those are two different ways we can select basic targeting. As you can see, we've got a target audience size to 170,000, which I'm pretty happy with. In terms of enable audience expansion here, I usually turn that off. What that does is it looks at people in your target audience when your campaign goes live and then displays it to people who are similar but don't exactly fit. And I'd recommend turning that off because you can't control that. LinkedIn's just left to its own devices in that way, and that's generally not something we want to let happen. So we're going to turn audience expansion off. Also, what we can do is we can exclude certain people. So I know I don't want, what can we say we don't want? You can exclude specific companies. So let's say you've got a competitor company and you don't want them to see the ads. So let's put our own company. If we pop up, yeah. So Tech Growth Marketing are now in there. So anyone at the company Tech Growth Marketing will not see the job. So you can exclude based on a variety of different things. We've also found sometimes you want to exclude people based on their job roles. So if you're being more broad, job functions or owner, sometimes you can get people who are like single business owners. And there's several ways to make sure they don't see your ads because they're not unqualified. You could do something like exclude, there's a self-employed option. Self-employment member skills, you could exclude that, for example. We can also add in size over here, so company size, and then we just make sure it's above a certain point. But you can use positive and negative factors to refine your audience and get it to a point whereby you're happy with it. So we're happy. We also want to change this. So this is something that will happen. You set up, I want people to work in company industry software, United Kingdom, and it will say have any of the following attributes. So what's happened is our audience size, as you can see on the right here, has increased. Why is that happening? Basically, it's saying we want anyone who works in computer software and is at a company size of 11 to 50 employees. That's not specific enough. What we want to do is change this to and as you can see, as I press and, the target audience size is going to change. So boom, that takes us down to 58,000. So that's way more specific. We're now targeting people in the United Kingdom who work at software companies, who work in marketing and operations in senior positions, and who are only at companies above 11 employees to 1,000 employees. That's our target audience set. What you can do is you can press save audience here and you can save that audience for future reference. So when you come to creating new campaigns, you can just use the same audience over and over without having to manually type it in every time. Next up, we come to our ad formats. So you have different options depending on the different objective you selected up here. With lead generation, you have the options of single image ad, carousel, video, message, and conversion ads. With website visits, you have a similar range, if not the same, I believe. In terms of the ads I would recommend using, they're all viable in fact. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do a white paper download, something like that, I'd recommend going single image ad. If you're trying to push someone towards something that's a bit more involved, such as a free trial, free demo, I'd recommend carousel or video ads. And messaging ads can be used for remarketing, conversation for the same. You need to test what's going to be right for you, but for now we're going to keep it simple and go with single image ads. The process is the same pretty much regardless of what you're doing. Message ads and conversation ads are slightly different. If you want to see a guide for that, just put a comment below and I'll create one for you. So we've selected our format as single image ads. Next up, placement. Sometimes you have the opportunity to put your ads within the LinkedIn audience network. Always disable that. Make sure that's never enabled. Next up, budget and scheduling. So this is how much we want to spend. We normally go with a daily budget rather than a lifetime budget. So daily budget, and set that to whatever you're happy spending. We're keeping this campaign relatively low, so it's £30. That should be roughly, it shows you on the side here, we'll spend roughly £548 within a month. It also tells us how many impressions we get, and it also gives a prediction in terms of the amount of leads you'll get, click-through rates, etc. In terms of the leads, this can be wildly off. So whilst this is a nice indication of what's going to happen, not usually the best thing to look at, but it can give you some sort of indication. So yeah, next up we have bidding. This is how we're going to bid on our ads. So we can bid based on a load of different optimization goals. Optimization goals are what LinkedIn is prioritizing your ads around. I would strongly recommend you set your optimization for the ultimate goal of what it is you want to happen. So if you're doing lead generation as your objective up here, I'd strongly recommend putting your optimization goal to be leads, because that's what it is you want. You can have it to be for clicks or for impressions, and it will, in that instance, optimize your ads based on who is most likely to click those ads. Whereas if you set it to leads, it's who's most likely to submit their lead information result, which is ultimately what your goal is supposed to be. So whatever your ultimate goal is for the campaign, set that as your optimization goal. Next up, there are different bidding strategies. Now, if you're just starting out, I would strongly recommend you just stick to maximum delivery automated. It's the easiest, and we tested this loads of times, we found that usually the optimum bidding strategy for your end goal is maximum delivery automated. You can go into manual bidding and start setting manual bid amounts for the amount of click you're willing to pay per click. And we found this does reduce the cost per click. However, our leads, which is our ultimate end goal, tend to be affected. So if you're just starting out, 100%, even if you're advanced, I'd recommend leads recommended and then maximum delivery automated. Next up, conversion tracking, which is optional. So you can set up a pixel within LinkedIn. And again, if you want to see a video on that, it's slightly more complex, let me know and I'll put together a guide for you. And within here, we can set up conversion tracking. So if, for example, you had selected at the very top, you had selected website visits, then then we would be able to set up a pixel within your website so that if someone visits a thank you page, it confirms them as having converted or taken that action, and it allows you to monitor your results within LinkedIn. So we've set up everything we need to set up for this lead generation campaign in here today. So now we're going to press next. It will prompt us to save, and what this will do is it will save our objective and ad format. This cannot be changed once you save. So one thing with LinkedIn, if we create a campaign and we select it to be lead generation with the use of images, we can only put ads within that campaign that are images and utilize lead forms. If we want to do something whereby we are running a similar campaign but using videos instead, we have to duplicate the campaign and create a separate one. It's just one of the things that happens within LinkedIn. So we're going to save that. And then we have our campaign created. So now we can actually come back out of here and see we have campaign groups. This is our campaign group we set up a while ago. And then campaigns, this is our campaign. If you want to get back into that view you were just at, press these three dots here and press manage, and you'll get back to the same view you were at a minute ago. So we've been through all this. We can either press next down here, or now we can press set up ads on the left, sponsored content. So we're going to start creating our ads.
So I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are, and you could leave a like or subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. And remember, the offer for the free marketing strategy call is still available, link in the description below.
So because this is a LinkedIn lead form campaign, we actually need to create a lead form before we can create our ads. Because what will happen is when we create an ad, it says after your ads becomes active, you can't change the lead form association, but we need to create a lead form first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the primary view, and we're going to press account assets, and we're going to press lead gen forms. This allows us to create a new lead generation form. Now we have previously defined what we want in this lead generation form, so I'm going to open this up. And then I'm going to copy in the lead form name. This is just an indicator as to what the lead form is. And then we copy in additional information. So we've decided our headline is B2B SaaS LinkedIn Marketing Guide. Description is a very, very short field. We're just going to put this in here. I would recommend also with all your copy, I'd recommend running it through Grammarly or something similar externally before you start inputting it into LinkedIn. Also on the side here, you can change the size of these boxes, which is very helpful when putting information in, because it defaults to this tiny view and you have to scroll up and down. So I'd recommend extending that so you can see everything. Privacy policy URL needs to be defined, so we'll put that in there. Make sure this works. If for whatever reason this privacy policy isn't correct, your ad will be rejected. So make sure that actually goes to a page which includes your privacy policy. So this is what we get a preview on the side here. This is what the lead form is going to look like. Next up, we're going to go lead details. So we can put in what we want here. So we've got first name, last name, email address. I'd recommend adding in some additional information. So company name, company size, and also we want LinkedIn profile URL. And we can potentially ask for phone number. Now you'll see on the side here, these two fields are form fillable. You can change what's in them. However, the fields underneath are pre-filled and cannot be adjusted. There is a lot of value in asking for these fields because it doesn't affect conversion rates, but it gives you plenty more information. So we now know the company size, the company name, and we have the LinkedIn profile URL of the person applying, which gives us additional follow-up routes to this lead. We also have their email address and phone number. So this gives us the best chance of nurturing this lead into something extra. You can also add in custom questions here, but for now we're going to skip that. Next up, we have confirmation. So once they have submitted the form, what happens next? So we're going to put in our confirmation here. It just says, thank you, you're going to get your guide soon. Also, we need to remove that. There we go. Okay, and then we have our landing page URL. So this is where someone's going to be sent after they press the button. So we have a button here, And what's going to happen is they're going to submit our form. They're going to be told, thank you, we've emailed you a link to your guide. You can also view the guide immediately by clicking the link below. And if they press download now, they'll get taken to this landing page URL. We've also added UTM tags here, so we can track this within Google Analytics. So that's everything. We're going to agree and create, and that creates our lead form. So now we can go back to our campaign. Sorry, we actually need to go manage here, and then back to sponsor content, and we can start creating our ads. So ad creation, now that we have the lead form set up, we press create new ad, and we're following that same naming format. So copy, paste that in there. We previously defined our copy for the actual advert here, so we paste that in as well. Sometimes the formatting can go a bit weird. It tends to add more spaces than you'd like. And you can preview it on the side here. So this is what it will look like within the feed. Next up, destination URL. You need to include a destination URL even if you are utilizing a LinkedIn lead form. So we put something in there. And then we have to define our image. So this is what we created within Canva. So I've downloaded it from Canva and I'm just uploading it direct. Our headline. We paste that. This description field, you don't need to put anything in here, and I would recommend just leaving it blank. This is only shown in specific situations and isn't visible most of the time anyway, so just leave this blank. There's really no instance we found that this should be filled out. Sometimes it takes a second for this preview to update, but our our image is uploaded on the side there. Next up, we have to associate a form. So if you were just running a campaign for website visits, all you would do is you put in your destination URL and then you select your call to action, and that would be it. But because we've got lead forms, it's slightly more complicated. So we're going to fill out our lead form. Now we want our lead form to say download, and we associate the lead form we've just created in this drop down list, and that puts it in there. Next up, we press create, and that creates our advert. So our advert is now in there. We can also preview this ad. So if we press these three dots and press preview, it'll bring up a preview of the ad so we can see what it's going to look like to other people. We can even press this and see what the lead form is going to look like. I'd recommend testing every ad you've got just before it goes live, just to make sure everything works. Test it end-to-end funnel. Now, what we want to do next is press next. And then what we can do is we can press launch campaign. Once we press launch campaign, it will take all the ads you've got. It will take your daily budget, everything, and it will start launching it. So we press launch. I'll do this now anyway for you, actually. Let's launch the campaign. So the campaign is now live. However, it's not going to go live immediately, like bang. What we'll need to do is it will need to be approved. So we've approved it, and it's set the campaign group to active, it's set the campaign to active, and the ads are in review. So what needs to happen is LinkedIn needs to review your LinkedIn lead form, and it needs to review the ad creative here to make sure it matches the LinkedIn advertising policy. If you break that policy in any way, shape or form, your ads won't go live, and you'll have to make adjustments to make them go live. This, I believe, I've spoken to LinkedIn's customer service, is a manual thing. So people are manually checking the ads. I don't think always, but in a lot of instances, someone's manually checking it. So you can have an ad that gets rejected, and then you can resubmit it, and it can immediately get accepted. It's very, very strange. But yeah, just be aware that's something that can happen, and you will have to wait a little bit for your ads to go live, especially if it's a newer ad account. If your ad account's been running for a while, generally your ads get approved immediately. If it's a brand new ad account, it will take a lot longer. Sometimes we've had to wait like 2 days for an ad account that's brand new to have its ads approved. That was at a particularly busy period in time for the platform, I believe, though. So that's it. Your campaign is now live. You can review your campaign in these campaign groups and campaign windows. The best way to review them is with these columns here, conversions. You can set different things and it will show you different information. You can also go down to customize columns and add in specific things. I'd strongly recommend having key results in there. That's a very, very useful one. And that's how you review campaigns. So that is how you create campaigns within LinkedIn.
So I really hope this video has helped you. If it has, and you can leave a like or subscribe, greatly appreciated. I know I've asked already. And also remember, if you want to claim that free marketing strategy call, if you just want someone else to do all of this for you, it can get quite complicated as you scale up your campaigns. You can apply for a free marketing strategy call in the link in the description below. On that call, we'll save you loads of time in trial and error, because we can just tell you what we've learned from other campaigns, apply it to your exact situation. But yeah, hope you have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.